What's up, beautiful spirits? This is Myron Magnus. You listen to a segment of Pure Pugilism, aka Boxing Logic. Post-analysis and breakdown of the Daniel Jacobs and Sergey Derevyanchenko match, which was an excellent fight, I must say. The history between these fighters is so-called 300 sparring rounds they've had with each other. So it was much familiarity between the two for what each fighter had with one another before this competition. And I would like to say congratulations to both men. First of all, Daniel Jacobs, on your win, on your IBF championship win. Congratulations, and congratulations to Derevyanchenko for a hell of a fight. Showed a lot of dog in him. From what I've heard, this is only his 12th or 13th fight, and but he has, so I don't know how many amateur fights. I don't know if that was 300 or so, but he showed well, looked really good, and I'll be looking for more of his fights in the future, definitely, or paying more attention to them. This fight was very interesting. It was starting off pros and cons for Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs definitely was the stronger puncher in this fight. I believe he hurt Derevyanchenko in round 2, round 4, and round 6. But he was moving around maybe a little too much for me, and not using his jab enough. He has a good jab, sharp, fast, will pop. And I don't think he was popping it out there enough. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't popping out there. Even if he was going to pop there once, if he was worried about the Derevyanchenko going above or underneath it, around that right hand, countering, then he could double it. No problem. You know what I'm saying? Just double it. And just keep it out there. Just don't be as predictable with it. To keep, of course, Derevyanchenko off balance. Derevyanchenko, love how he fight. Got good dog in him. If he had a little bit more pop in his punches, Daniel Jacobs would probably respected him more. And then shit, he'd probably be on his bicycle more. But I think Daniel Jacobs moved around a lot. I would love to see Daniel Jacobs sit down more in this fight, and maybe that's why he had lost on one of the judges' scorecard, 14, I think 114 to 113. In the other two judges' scorecard, he won 115 to 112. He definitely was connecting on the sharper punches, countering well, especially with that right uppercut he was sneaking up in there that caught Derevyanchenko numerous times. The body work in the beginning was awesome by Daniel Jacobs, that he later slowed off, did less of in the later rounds. Daniel Jacobs switched to southpaw numerous times, but whenever he did shift to southpaw, you notice that I think it was to give Derevyanchenko just another look. And whenever he did switch to southpaw, Jacobs, Derevyanchenko's output slowed down. Or he had to think a little bit more before he engaged Daniel Jacobs. That what I did notice. So if anything, I'm not saying the southpaw stance gave Daniel Jacobs a more advantage on the offense, but defensively it kind of did, if that makes sense. Because whenever I saw him switch to southpaw, Derevyanchenko was not coming in attack as fast as he was when Daniel Jacobs was orthodox. That was a good thing. Derevyanchenko should have did his body work, put in body work a lot earlier in the fight. The beginning, first half of the fight, Daniel Jacobs dominated or went to the body well, more effectively and much more often than Derevyanchenko did. Derevyanchenko did start going to the body in spurts in the later rounds. That would have helped him more if Derevyanchenko went to the body right off rip. Because if you see, Daniel Jacobs was on his toes. He was moving around. Also, sometimes I believe Daniel Jacobs make these fights look harder. Or he makes the fights. Daniel Jacobs makes it hard for the judges sometimes. Daniel Jacobs makes it harder for the judges to give him rounds, I should say, because sometimes he chose or elected to go in a corner and keep his back up against the ropes when he didn't need to or wasn't forced to. Derevyanchenko was applying pressure, but it wasn't the type of pressure that Jacobs had to be up against the ropes or had to be in the corner. I think that was really strictly Jacobs' decision to do that. I think he wanted to show him different looks, different angles. He was countering well off the ropes. I give him that. But by him being up against the ropes, he also, whether he was rolling with it, weaving them, slipping them, or whatever, it make it look like he got hit more often than he was really getting hit. You understand what I'm saying? And it made it look like he was accepting a lot of punishment. You know what I mean? More punishment than he actually was. You could see his face, both of the faces at the end of it. He wasn't accepting a lot of punishment. Okay? But by his back being up against the ropes and him being in a corner, it gives that impression that he's receiving punishment and taking a lot of flush punches than he is. Taking more flush punches than he actually is. And he had good defense. He did get hit with the right often. It wasn't completely flush, but they got there. You know what I'm saying? They got there. You could see they got there. Did they connect with any conviction? Oftentimes, no. A couple of times, yes. But Daniel was rolling, bobbing, weaving with the punches, with Derevyanchenko's punches very, very well. But still, it was too close for comfort. And for even if I'm on the ringside and I'm a judge and I'm looking at it, it could have looked like he got hit cleanly, a lot more often than he actually did. So I think Daniel Jacobs need to work on that. And when you do that and you make it a little bit more difficult for the judges, Daniel. Okay. I believe you should have listened to your coach and worked that jab a lot more often than you did. You know what I mean? Because of course you had the 2-inch reach advantage. Okay, you had a 3-inch height advantage, I believe, if not more. But you definitely should have used that a little bit more. Okay, and use your range and your reach a little bit more so you could dictate the fight more from the outside. The fight was closer than it had to be because, of course, Derevyanchenko with the shorter fighter and the shorter reach was looking to get inside, okay, to do his most damage, to put in his work. And I think you could have kept him at bay a lot more often had you popped your jab a lot more. You have a great jab, but you're not that consistent with it, using it, I should say. You're not as consistent using it when you should. Derevyanchenko, you have, he could throw great combinations. He had a good attack. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't get it there. He couldn't get those punches there as he would wanted to because Daniel was showing good upper body movement and not getting hit completely flush. But I would like to say there was ring rust for Derevyanchenko. Supposedly, I think it was 283 days layoff for him. And I don't think that's enough. And one thing I would like to delve on or talk about is if this is the like fighters like Derevyanchenko and Lomachenko. I don't know if this is the model, the role model to success that the Ukrainian boxing whoever dominates or the most influential in Ukrainian style of boxing that they're going to present to the pro level. I don't know if that's the best best formula for success. You know what I'm saying? The 12 fights, I believe this is Derevyanchenko's 12 or 13 fight. Lomachenko, 12, 13 fights. And from what I heard last night, this is Derevyanchenko's biggest payday. I think you guys going to always keep very, very little paydays. You know, Lomachenko, like Derevyanchenko. If this is the Ukrainian style of boxing they presented to the pro level, with guys who have multiple high amount of amateur fights, but very little pro fights, and Derevyanchenko's already 32 years old, I don't think this is the road to success. Definitely not for the casual fan to get to know who you are. If the casual fan does not know who you are, you will not be a household name. Okay? Part of being a household name is being known by the casual fan. Not us boxing fans who pay attention to boxing every day. You know what I'm saying? Every hour. But to the fan who does not pay attention to boxing, besides for the big fights, which is the casual fan, this is not going to be, it's not going to be very prosperous for you guys. No one will ever get to know you unless you fight more pro fights, okay? Seriously, because I've made videos about Lomachenko, and I do not think Lomachenko is, I think it's blasphemy to call him the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Not saying he's not an excellent fighter, but I think it's blasphemous. I mean, is he a good fighter? Yes, very much so. But I need to see him in fighters of the higher caliber. And I know all he wants to fight is champions, and I admire that. Same with Derevyanchenko. I admire that. And you can get into these fights and look very good, even with so many, amateur fights. You can go into the pros and start looking very good immediately and look good against the top B-tier fighters. But when y'all get into the rounds or in the fights with these A-tier fighters, okay, the champions, you're not going to look as good, okay? Because why? You don't have the ring experience you need without that headset and with 8, 10-ounce, whatever gloves you have on, okay? You're not going to look the best, okay? Because it's a hell of a lot, it's a big difference taking some leather without a headset on than it is taking some leather with one on, or the other way around. There's a big difference taking it with a headset on than taking it without one on, okay? And when Daniel Jacobs hit Derevyanchenko was moving. You know what I'm saying? Daniel Jacobs did not respect Derevyanchenko's power at all, really. You get what I'm saying? Because he was staying in there. He had the nerve to get on the ropes. He had the nerve to go in the corner and let Derevyanchenko come at him. And that was sign one that, okay, Daniel Jacobs said this is not, he could take his punch. He wasn't in fear of that. So, and you need to get more fights, more rounds, okay, so that you have the ability to know how to piece your shots together better. Your stamina is where it needs to be, and so on. Okay? And when you don't have that many fights, or one a year, whatever it is, you're not going to get that. And so I don't understand this Ukrainian style that they presented to the pro level. You know, like no one talks about Lomachenko besides the commentators whoever he's fighting. No, Lomachenko gives nobody, or Derevyanchenko don't give anybody much to go off of. Why? Because they haven't fought much. You know what I'm saying? And it's impossible for me to give a guy a pound for pound title when he's 12-1 and he lost to a guy, you know what I mean, that wasn't even in the pound for pound discussion to begin with Salido, if you're talking Lomachenko. I think that's ridiculous. So I think the Ukrainians need to adjust how they attack the pro level of boxing. And if they want to be household names, if they want to be, I think, respected by even the hardcore boxing fans. Because I don't think, you know, a fight once a year or 2 fights a year and against competition that is B tier is not going to get it. And Lomachenko has not fought A-level competition so far. I mean, out of the 12 fights, I think he's fought about 3 guys. I guess Jorge Linares, Salido, I guess if he is A-level, you know what I mean? And I think it was another guy who supposedly quit on him. They said it's supposed to be good, but I don't know if that was Paul Williams. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. But I don't think this guy, that's the road to success for you guys. And I'm not going to respect you. I think you need to get in that fight. You need to get in there. If you have 300, 400 pro amateur fights, then you need to be going there and banging with the top B tier and getting them out of there. Okay? If you want to use this fast track to get to becoming a household name and just want to fight nothing but the champions and fight for belts, which that's what Lomachenko talk about. And if Derevyanchenko, if that's his same, the same method that they're using for Derevyanchenko, I just don't think it's going to work. He looks good. They both look great fighters, but nobody going to know who they are, okay? And the top tier fighters are going to use that inactivity, okay, and our lack of pro experience against them. So, Derevyanchenko, you look good. You could have did a little bit more, but maybe you couldn't do any more. I mean, I think you gave the best you could, honestly, Derevyanchenko. And Jacobs was standing there right in front of you, so you can give, and was willing to take whatever you had to give. You missed a lot, which is something that's also caused with a lot of inactivity. You wasn't as accurate as you should have been, okay, Derevyanchenko, with Jacobs being right there in your kitchen, right in front of you. You couldn't take advantage of it. And I think that is also caused by the inactivity and not having that much pro experience. So, again, that's my breakdown and analysis. Respect to the Ukrainian boxing system, Lomachenko, Derevyanchenko, and all the Chenko fellas and Chenko brothers in the house. You guys show grit and I believe are great fighters, have the potential to be great fighters. But until you, I think you respect the sport and realize you need to get in there more often, okay? And I pity pat your way up, and then you're going to have to just get what you get. You know what I'm saying? And Lomachenko don't sell tickets, and Derevyanchenko is not selling a lot of tickets. And that's because you guys need to fight, okay? And bottom line. Another thing I want to talk about is at the beginning of this fight, that damn Max Kellerman, that freaking Max Kellerman, and this is probably one of the reasons why Showtime need to get out of boxing, and people criticize Showtime for so much. Max Kellerman said at the top of the middleweight division was Canelo Alvarez and Triple G. And that's completely bullshit. That's bullshit. Canelo Alvarez is not at the top. It's, correct me if I'm mistaken, I think Canelo Alvarez, his first fight, middleweight, was that. He might have had one before, a couple of them before, but his really, real, true only pro fight was against Triple G in the middleweight division. And he's nowhere near at the top of the middleweight division, okay? Canelo's not at the top, and Triple G isn't at the top. Triple G, by many of us, believe he lost the fight to Daniel Jacobs, okay? So Triple G, you're not at the top. Canelo, you're not at the top. If Canelo, you lost the first fight to Triple G, and Triple G, which many believe lost to Daniel Jacobs, then neither one of you motherfuckers are at the top, okay? And it's that politics bullshit that's going on, okay? Because you guys have been catapulted through propaganda and exposure by HBO and other boxing outlets to be your fights has been exposed, okay? And you've been talked up or hyped up by the commentators, Max Kellerman, Jim Lampley, and people like that. But I don't think you guys really deserve it, because Triple G, you have not fought the best in the top in your division while you've had the belts. And Canelo, you just brought your ass up in here in the middleweights, and you ain't fought Charlo, you haven't fought Jacobs, you haven't fought Demetrius Andrade. No fucking way in hell either one of you are the top middleweights in your division, okay? And I shit that shit out with, I forgot what the fuck I was going to say. That was funny. Oh well, let's skip on. I shit the shit out with a broomstick and bet all money you motherfuckers don't fight the best. Either one of you two don't fight the best in your division, okay? And that's a sham. You're not the man because you're not beating the men that will qualify you to being the man, okay? So Max Kellerman, shut the fuck up sometimes. And sometimes I think, Max Kellerman, you just like to hear yourself freaking talk, okay? And I love to hear Roy Jones actually take the word masturbation that Max Kellerman loves using. He loves masturbating with words. You know what I mean? He jacks off with words. So he just like hearing himself talking. He'll say some shit, you know what I mean? And us here watching like, what the fuck you talking about, Max Kellerman? And then the great Roy Jones will go ahead and say or break down what Kellerman said, or give the correct perspective of what Kellerman said or meant in the simplistic form that he does, that makes complete sense to the casual fan and us boxers who actually have boxed, okay? And it's funny to see how them two go back and forth, you know what I'm saying? Kellerman say some shit and Roy Jones gonna have to correct them, you know, in a polite manner. But you know what? We hate hearing that all the damn time, you know what I'm saying? I think from now on, if it ain't Paulie Malignaggi, freaking Roy Jones, okay, a George Foreman or a Sugar Ray Leonard, okay, these guys need to be the freaking, what they call it, the anchors for the commentators during the fight, okay? Now, I like the dialogue that Jim Lampley and Kellerman use sometimes. Sometimes I like the dialogue, but oftentimes you fuckers just be jaw-jacking up in that bitch, okay? You be word masturbation all the time up that shit. You be beating off with the words, okay? You be trying to use these abstract perspectives and shit of boxing and shit. Shut the fuck up with that shit, okay? All right? Make it simple. Bring simplicity down with the words, okay? And the angles or how you trying to make your point across. And just let Roy Jones, people like Paulie Malignaggi and Ray Leonard, just freaking dominate the goddamn conversation, okay? At least 50% of it, okay? But we always don't want to hear your ass, Max Kellerman, for real. You know what I'm saying? I understand you're a wordsmith and all that, and you like, and shitting on First Taking all the time. But shut the fuck up, okay? That's all I have to say. This is Myron Magnus of Pure Pugilism, Boxing Logic, y'all. One love. Also, please like and subscribe, okay? And shit, that's it. Enjoy y'all motherfucking Sundays, man. Peace.